Hello, this is Dan Gordon from the City Broker. This is part 2 of the email series, and today I'll be talking to you how to import and manage your address book as well as setting up mass emails. The first thing you need to do before you do any importing is you need to set up a mailing list. This is essentially categories for each one of your clients that you're going to have, and you're going to find you'll have quite a few categories as time goes on. But to create a new one, you click on mailing list. I'm just going to call this clients. You don't have to worry about the slug or worry about the parent or the description. You just need to put a name on it, and then everything else will be taken care of for you. As you'll see, there's already one over here that's done up as called uncategorized. You can just leave that one alone and just start typing in new ones. Hit new, and now you got clients, and that's pretty much it. You can put as many lists in here as you want, and like I said, you're probably going to have more and more as you start to get more and more familiar with this system. Once the mailing list is in, you can go to the users button, and you see there's no users into the system yet, but you have this bulk add functionality. This is the first way of importing emails. The other way is quite a bit more complicated, however, a lot more powerful. But let's start with a simple one. So if you click your cursor right here, it's going to tell you that you need to put comma separated list in here, so you can type in as many email addresses as you would like. So let's go ahead and type in the two that we talked about before, comma, and then you can just keep going as long as you'd want. But once you have that done, you click on bulk add, and it's going to add two entries in here. And here we go. We got Dan at the City Broker and Dan at Zombie. They're both under uncategorized right now because we just bulk added them. To change these settings, you can go into Edit, and it'll bring up the user field, and you can change over here the mailing list from uncategorized to clients. You can add some custom fields. I'm not going to talk about custom fields quite yet. I'm going to talk about that here in a second when I start talking about the bulk importing, the using it's called a comma separated list. But for now, you can just change out the client, hit save, and go back to the users list, and you're going to see that now the mailing list for that email is under clients. Okay, so that's the real basic bulk import functionality that will get you as many emails as you want in here. To get a more feature-rich import, you want to go to the import section here, and you want to click on this CSV, comma separated list file. You've got a couple different features here, probably more advanced than a lot of you are going to be able to use. However, this comma separated list is not too bad. But before we get to that, I need to create a list. So let's go over to Microsoft Excel and create an email list with these values that we're going to use. So here we are in Excel. I've got a very simple spreadsheet of different names, and this is what we're going to use to generate our user population in the email system. Across the top, you're going to have the titles for each column, a first name, a full name, and email. Now these things are completely arbitrary. You don't have to use a first name or full name. You do need to have the email in there, obviously, for the email list, but you can have addresses, you can have all kinds of different information. There is no limit of the amount of information that you can bring in using this style of format. However, I would recommend that you do use first name and full name, and I will show you why that's important when we get to the advanced features, because you can use these in your email very effectively, but they're not required, and if you don't feel like using them, you don't have to. So then you have these three entries. You can have as many as you'd like here, and it's not too difficult. I do want to emphasize the fact that your email names need to be all lowercase, otherwise that's going to kick back some errors. So if you see some strange errors, that is why. So once you have it here, you're going to want to save this list as a comma separated list. So you go to save as, and I'm using Microsoft Excel 2007 here. Now if you're using 2003 or a different spreadsheet program, they all have the same basic capability of saving the file as a comma separated, or what they call here is a comma delimited or delimited. There are a couple of different versions down here. There's a CSV Macintosh, a CSV MS-DOS. You don't want to use any one of those. You want to use the most basic one there is, which is just the comma delimited. I'm going to call this input file, and I'm going to hit save. I already have it exists like that, but I'll go ahead and replace it. Once it's saved in Excel, I typically like to open it up in a notepad program. Word does work. I would not recommend that you use Word, but if you need to, you can. This is just a real straightforward text editor that I use a lot, and you're going to see that it saved the spreadsheet in just a comma separated list, like it sounds. First name, comma, full name, comma, email, and then the next column, Dan, comma, Dan Gordon, comma, email address. So if you'd like to, you can type them out like this in Word or in a text pad, and it will work just fine. However, the Excel gives you a little bit more formatting, and it looks a little bit better when you're typing it out, and it could be a little bit easier to manage. But ultimately, this is what you need to import the data into the mail program. So the hardest part is creating that comma separated list. Once you have it created, then the importing is pretty straightforward. To do that, you're going to want to click on this right here, the CSV file, and it's going to bring up an import dialog box. You click on browse, and I saved that file as import or input.csv, and that's going to be somewhere in my list here. There it is, import. It's going to put the text in here, upload file, and import. And then it's going to give you a chance to kind of look at things. So you have a couple things of note here. It's going to highlight which one it thinks it's the email. If you have an email in the title, it's going to make it a little bit easier, so I would recommend you do that because it needs to know which one is the email, obviously. Now the mailing list that we talked about before, I want all of these people to go into the client's mailing list. The default may be uncategorized or maybe nothing at all, but I want everybody to go into the clients. And once you start getting a hang of importing, you're going to maybe want to do imports in smaller batches of different lists. So once you have the right list here, everything looks good, you hit submit. File imported, 3 of them came in. Now we go to the users,